first round of the NFL draft has come and gone, and the Pittsburgh Steelers made the obvious and smart decision by selecting defensive tackle Derrick Harmon from Oregon. Now, of course, the elephant in the room, we will talk about that a little later in the video, but there was a quarterback on the board for us, maybe even two quarterbacks if you count Jackson Dart in there. There was a quarterback on the board for us, and we'll talk about that in a second. But firstly, we have to talk about why Derrick Harmon was the smart choice and why you need to go out and get a guy like him. Going into the draft, going into the offseason, it was defensive tackle all the way. It was always defensive tackle. It wasn't until recently where Shedeur started falling. It wasn't until recently where Jackson Dart started rising. It wasn't until recently before we got DK Metcalf that maybe we were going to get a wide receiver in the first round. But 9 times out of 10, it was always going to be Derrick Harmon or maybe even a Kenneth Grant if he ended up falling, which he didn't. Kenneth Grant actually went relatively early in this draft, in my opinion. Now, I'm not a draft guy. You guys know that. So, I'm not the most 100% sure if Derrick Harmon was the pick, or if Kenneth Grant was the pick, or if this player X was the pick. I just, honestly, I listen to the experts. I'm just like you. I never try to, pretend like I'm a reporter or whatever. I never try to pretend like I'm an expert. I listen to the people too. I listen to what they tell me. And what they're telling me is Derrick Harmon is going to be an absolute beast. And they showed the guy's highlights. He is a big guy. He reminds me of the Casey Hamptons. He reminds me of the Dan McCullers. He reminds me of the Steelers teams of old where we are stopping the run, where we are getting the quarterback, because we've been able to get the quarterback early on in the season, right? Early on in every single season, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense looks like the top defense in the league. And then we get tired, and then we start gasping for air, and then we need help. Every season, it ends up falling apart. And so taking a guy like Derrick Harmon, who can add to the depth, taking a guy like Derrick Harmon, who can allow Keanu Benton to kind of move around on the defensive line, taking a guy like Derrick Harmon was the obviously smart choice, and that is what good teams do. We have taken offensive linemen in back-to-back drafts, and now we have taken a defensive tackle in this draft. Low-key, the last 3 drafts, we have taken a tackle of some sort. That is what winning teams do. It is a slow but steady grind. I know the 40 pluses, the 50 pluses, the 60 pluses. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. So every NFL draft, we don't be moving up like that. Every NFL draft, we got to wait until 10 p.m., 11 p.m. to go out and watch our team make this pick. And so is this the sexy pick? Is this the Shedeur Sanders potentially? And I'll talk about that in a second. Is this that pick? No. But I do believe that this is a pick that can have huge impact on the team. This is a pick that it can really, really help us down the stretch when we're in the cold games, when we're in the December games, when we really need to pull out an AFC North win. And the AFC North is consistent of running backs like Derrick Henry, when it is consistent of running backs like Lamar Jackson, when it's consisting of running backs like Kenny Pickett. Yeah, not too much like Kenny Pickett. I'm sorry, Kenny. That's my guy. But it is what it is. It is consistent of these good running backs. We need to be a team that stops the run. The Philadelphia Eagles and Saquon Barkley, look at what they are able to do running the football. If we can't stop the run, we are not going to be a good football team. And low key, we cannot stop the run. And so taking Derrick Harmon, as I mentioned, is the right, obvious, smart pick. I cannot fault the Steelers for that. But the YouTuber in me, man, the narrative guy, the Twitter guy, the meme guy, Shedeur Sanders was right there, and this could end up being a situation where it is another player that we just missed out on, right? Because what is the story all the time? It's Jalen Hurts. We didn't draft Jalen Hurts, and now look at the guy. We didn't draft Creed Humphrey, and now look at the guy. We didn't draft X player. We drafted this other player, and now look at the guy. This could end up being one of those situations, but I will say, I don't think it's going to be because Derrick Harmon is bad. I think a lot of times what happens is we get Najee Harris, who to a lot of people, he didn't exactly perform. Maybe Kenny Pickett is a way better example of this. We get a Kenny Pickett and he just absolutely shrinks. While the guy we could have chose the right pick after, he's just the best player in the league. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Derrick Harmon is going to be good, but because of the position Shedeur plays, if he ends up being good, which to me, I think he's going to be okay. I think the hating on him it was a bit much. You can criticize his football. You can think he's not really, all that. You can think he's not a first-round prospect. But we got to be honest, guys. It got a little ridiculous at the end of it with the criticisms of Shedeur Sanders to me. It got a little ridiculous. And once again, I understand if you don't think he's the best football player, but a lot of the takes that were coming out was a bit much. And so if Shedeur ends up being good, I think two things can be true. Derrick Harmon can be good and Shedeur Sanders can be good. We have Mason fucking Rudolph though, man. So not taking a quarterback is a little bit sus, but a guy who has gotten way too much airtime for my channel, and I low-key don't even really want to give him this much airtime on the channel, but I got to mention him. Maybe we're going to get Aaron Rodgers. Maybe we're going to go out and get him. And so the quarterback room has to be addressed, and at some point, I do believe it will be getting addressed. But for now, we had to piece up that defensive line. It was just the obvious pick. It was the smart pick. That is what good teams do. We've seen Philly do it. We've seen them build the O-line. We've seen them then build the D-line, and then they end up getting every good wide receiver and every good running back ever somehow, even though there's a salary cap. We've seen Philly do that. And so we want to be a team like Philly. We want to be successful. This is what you got to do. Once again, it is not the sexy pick out there. But it was the smart pick in my opinion. And I think a lot of people can agree with that. It's just right now we're a bit upset because we had Shedeur Sanders there. Stephen A. Smith is probably going to lead the charge of like, man, you had that guy, Shedeur Sanders, and you didn't. He's probably going to lead that. He's going to lead that pack. And so that's something we're just going to have to deal with until, the truth comes out and maybe he's not good, or like Derrick Harmon just ends up being TJ Watt, because that could happen too. Derrick Harmon could be a beast. Look at the tape. This dude is massive. He is pushing people off of him. He is tackling running backs 30 yards behind the line of scrimmage. He is getting to the quarterback. So this guy can be a huge, huge, huge impact for the team. And you couple that with TJ Watt, who, by the way, we're not trading. You guys are insane. You couple that with Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig. You couple that with Peyton Wilson, who probably is going to get some more, rushing opportunities. You couple that with Keanu Benton, who's been good. Cameron Hayward playing the best ball of his career even still. He's like the LeBron James of football, man. Cameron Hayward is a hooper. You take all of that into account, getting Derrick Harmon only makes the highest paid defense even better. This is a defense that got Darius Slay. This is a defense that got Minka Fitzpatrick, who, you think about Minka what you want. We have Deshaun Elliott. We got JPJ. This is a defense where we're really trying to go for it. And so that quarterback thing, it is a question mark. It is a head scratcher. But if everything goes right, if we can just run the football like we wanted to run the football, Mason Rudolph, I've seen the arm. For God's sakes, hit the passes. And if it's not Mason Rudolph, maybe it's Jalen Milroe. Maybe it is Shedeur Sanders. Maybe we'll end up going to get him. The draft isn't even over yet. The first round isn't over yet. But I really wanted to talk about our pick. And so maybe we can still get that quarterback that we need. But for now, the smart choice, I think Derrick Harmon right now is way better at his position than like a Shedeur was going to be. But, we'll have to end up seeing. Like I said, I know a lot of people out there probably aren't going to be the happiest with the pick. But I am really happy with getting Derrick Harmon. I wanted to put Shedeur Sanders on the thumbnail so bad. I might still do it, honestly. And, you guys can sue me. But I really did want that because, it's just like we're the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're like this great organization, this cookie cutter. Like, we'll draft your younger brother. Like, we'll donate to charity. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's all fine and dandy. We love charity. Who doesn't love charity, right? But sometimes I want to live on the edge a little bit. Sometimes I want to just go out and get Shedeur Sanders because he's there. And it's like, we need a quarterback, so get Shedeur Sanders. We need a running back. Why not go get Amarian Hampton? Like, a situation like that, I would have loved for us to have. But that's because I'm a troll, honestly. That's because I'm in it for the memes and, like, I love the NFL discussions or whatever. And I'm tired of hearing about every quarterback going to the Steelers. And so getting another guy would have kind of, put a bow on that, would have put a bow on the Aaron Rodgers thing. But it is what it is. We ended up taking Derrick Harmon, and I'm happy about it. I think a lot of you guys are happy about it too. We will have to see how the season ends up progressing. And now, as far as like other picks in the draft that we can make, we still do need that running back, and this is like a very deep running back class. So that looked for that, later in the draft. Obviously, we need another quarterback, and so we're probably going to draft someone later. We could maybe get a wide receiver as well, although I'm pretty high on Calvin Austin at this point in my life. George Pickens, for God's sakes, don't trade George Pickens. Like, I just got the poster, don't trade George Pickens. And of course, we got DK Metcalf as well. And so maybe we get a wide receiver late. Maybe we can get a safety or a corner late, or maybe even like another defensive lineman or something like that. But I think running back is definitely something that's going to be addressed on day 2 or 3. We have to get a second round pick too. I don't know how we end up doing that. But if it is just a 3rd round pick, then we got to just live with it and wait, 30 more years for the Steelers to pick again. But we got DK Metcalf out of it, so we can't be too upset about it. Anyways, though, that is going to do it for me for this video. I had a great time watching the draft. So if you guys enjoyed this and you want to talk about the Steelers more, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. I make videos about the Steelers all the time. I love this team, and I love all you guys out there, and I love talking about us. So yes, leave a comment, like the video, do everything you got to do, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.